All right, so far, when we create contacts, we've been using class components like this. And we've done that because we wanted to use states in this provider component so that we can pass down that state in different components inside this value. But now we've learned how to use state in a functional component. So now if we wanted to use a functional component, we can use that hook to define some states inside that functional component. You follow? So I'm going to turn this auth context component into a functional component. Now, by the way, we don't have to do that. Class component is also fine, but I just want to show you that we can do this as an alternative or if it becomes your preferred method. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. First of all, we need state inside this component, and I'm going to import that from React library. And I'm going to import useState like so. Then let's turn this component into a functional component. So I'll say const, and I'm going to call this component auth context provider again. So I'm not going to change it. And this is going to be a functional component. And remember, when we want to use state in a functional component, we should use the useState hook. Okay, so I will call that hook useState like so. Now this useState hook expects us to provide an initial value. And so that means we're going to pass the same value that we have here as the initial value, let's say false. And the state is going to be for the isLoggedIn property. I'm going to say const, then open up an array. Inside this array, let's say isLoggedIn for the state itself. And set isLoggedIn for edit this state. Okay, this change auth status is going to be a function. So I will say const change auth status like so. Then we're going to set the state, not in this way. So let's remove it and call set isLoggedIn as the function to set the state. And I'm going to say set isLoggedIn. And now we're going to toggle the state. So I will put an exclamation mark, and then I'll say isLoggedIn like so. Now, when we call this function, we're going to set the isLoggedIn state with the opposite of its current value. If its current value is false, we're going to set it to be true, and if it is true, we are going to set it to be false. Okay. Now, we don't have the render method in functional component. Let's remove it. And inside the value props, we added this state object, but now we can't say it like this. We have this isLoggedIn property in state, and we should add it in here like so. And we've also added this change auth status function in here. But this time we can't say this dot change auth status. We can access change auth status just by saying change auth status, because we're not using that class component anymore. And if the key and value property of an object has the same value, we can shorten it by removing this value. And we can just say change auth status. And again, inside a functional component, we can't say this dot props to reference a component itself, because we can directly access it. So we can just remove this keyword from the props object and add this props as an argument to our functional component. And again, we can destructure this children from the props object. So let's remove this, open up a set of curly braces in here and say children, like so. And yeah, let's remove all this as well. All right, so now we have converted this auth context provider from a class component to a functional component. So we can save all this and let's preview it in the browser. All right, so let's click on the change the theme. Okay, that's perfect. And click on this auth status, and it's changing as well. All right, so you can see it's working just as it was before. All right, my friends, we can create context with functional components like this. So now that you know that, let's take a break in here and we'll come back in the next lesson.